think that right now many people is already connected, so I will start with the presentation. First of all, thank you everyone to have joined us with this webinar. As you might have seen, we will talk about what's the resident situation of a foreigner worker who has been dismissed. At the beginning, well, this is Mar Fernandez with me. I'm responsible. I'm manager of the department in Madrid office. And well, today, as I said, we'll talk about these three main points. Okay. The first chapter will focus on introducing the Spanish technology labor market. We'll talk about the layoff. We'll talk also about the hirings in tech market. Okay. Just after, we'll analyze the resident situation, putting a different example of work permit associates with foreign workers. And finally, we will give some solutions in the middle, in between. If the worker is not fired, we can look for another resident option, which the worker is safe if he or she is dismissed, because we will try to go through a work permit that is not linked to the company. And so if this person is fired, nothing will happen if he's fired, because he or she can change the company very easy. So as said, you will probably have heard during this past month and year that the number of layoffs in Spain and in the world have been increased a lot. It's true, but well, in Spain there is another reason where they are and where there has been an increase of layoff, and this is mainly for the labor reform in the past year that the government established the obligation for companies to go through the indefinite contract and to reduce the temporary contract. So what had happened is that the number of employees under a temporary contract have been reduced, and at the same time, a rise on a definite contract has been produced. So at the end, this change of the hiring has been the reason of this is because of the rise of the indefinite contract, and of course companies that have to do layoff prefer to reduce cost on temporary workers than indefinite contracts for the impact and for the cost associated of the work of the firing due to the employees. And also another reason why it has been a number of layoffs increase in the past year is because tech market are trying to be more productive within their companies, and because of that there are many job positions that before were overcosted, especially in human resources, in marketing, in sales, and so on. And now those layoffs are mainly focused on these profiles, on profiles within human resources, marketing, and sales, but not in IT positions. In fact, as you might see, as you see in the presentation, during this year, it has been 252,000 people fired in Spain, and only 1,500 were tech positions. So at the end is very, very, very few in terms of comparing other firings in other job positions. So at the same time, this is the layoff situations. At the same time, the IT market has been experiencing annual growth comparing to the last year. And this is for other reasons that we will now explain, but mainly because in Spain there is an entrepreneur ecosystem focused in Valencia, Madrid, and Barcelona that are now hiring a lot of tech positions. It is true that big companies that you might have, that you see here in the presentation, such as Globo, Domestika, and so on, were doing layoff during the past month, but pymes, what is short and medium companies, are now hiring a lot of tech positions, especially those workers that were working in big companies such as Globo, Domestika, and they can go through another resident option that we'll explain now, but without having to offer such as higher salaries that they were offering in these big companies. Other reasons why in the labor market are a lot of layoffs is because during COVID, a lot of people and organizations were trying to digitalize their companies and to try to be an online service. And for that reason, they start hiring a lot of employees again, especially in those areas supporting human resources, marketing, but also sales. And now that COVID is no longer here, they have to reorganize their structure to become more productive. Also, another reason that the government is focusing is that because of the number of retirement baby boomers, this caused like a rush for companies to fill jobs during this gap. And so now they are seeing that because of the online services and digitalization, they don't need to have this structure as they did before. Okay, just to explain how important is the tech market in Spain and how the demand of the profiles are experiencing an increase. In LinkedIn, if you search the most 10 demand profiles nowadays, you will see that web developers, video game developers, cloud system architect, video game designer are the most demand job positions in the labor market in Spain. So this gives us more confidence that despite the layoff, at the moment there is an increase of hirings in tech market, and this is something that pymes companies, so short and medium companies, can benefit because of what we have talked before, that big companies are doing layoff, and so the other companies in the Spanish market can be aware of this talent that are looking for a job, and if we switch with a work permit, they can change the company very easy. And so this is a great opportunity to hire them and to at the end to have this job position in the company. So to resume the Spanish technology labor market, we can say that tech companies have experienced a growth compared to the last year because of the entrepreneur ecosystem in Spain. That this is a great opportunity for pymes because there is a lot of qualified talent within the market, and it is still a demand of the companies to hire tech positions. This gives to the pymes companies more competitive prices and salaries. And at the end, the main reason why in Spain it has been an increase of layoff is because the change in the labor law, because the government is now requiring that all work contracts have to be under the indefinite contract and not temporary. And so there is a clear rise need on hiring tech positions in the Spanish market, as I said before. And so now we will talk about what happened if in your company or if you are a worker, you are fired. And we will try to explain this, giving the three main work permits within the law when there is a foreigner worker. We have divided in three: the highly qualified work permit or high skilled, depending how you know it. In Spanish, is known as profesionales altamente cualificados. The work internship permit associated with the residencia con contrato laboral en prácticas. And finally, we will talk about the employment work permit, that this is the regular work permit, sorry, within the law, that is known as cuenta ajena. So here we will explain what happens if you are a highly qualified work permit and you are fired, or if you are not fired but you want to leave the company, and we will now explain all the situations and all the options that the worker will have if that happens. Imagine that the worker is fired, okay? That he is working, he or she is working in a tech company, and this person is fired. The first thing to check is if the worker is able to apply for an employment help, what is known in Spanish as paro. Okay, depending on that, the worker will be allowed to extend the work permission until the validity of paro. Okay, so we will be sending the presentation after we explain everything, but because you can check if you have right of paro or not in the link that you will see in the presentation. But let's imagine that the worker has been working in Spain for 1 year. This person will have 4 months of unemployment help. Okay, the same example, if she is working for 2 years, she will have 8 months. For more years, the maximum is 2 years. Okay, so you can extend your permit until the period time you have the paro. If that person has a validity of the work permit for more time than paro, then at the time that he complete all the month of paro, he will have to change the work permit because it will be no longer valid. Okay, so if the worker is fired and he or she has unemployment help, he or she can apply for the extension of the work permit until the validity of paro. Okay, if this person doesn't have the unemployment help because he or she hasn't worked for at least 1 year in Spain, then we have to look to other resident options. The law says that the worker has 30 days to change the status. So we have to look to other resident options or to the same resident, the highly qualified work permit, but with a second company. So first option, to go through the employment worker, which is the cuenta ajena. So this person can go through the cuenta ajena only if she or he has 1 year of previous resident in Spain. For example, this person could have been as a job search permit, and after that, he or she had applied for the highly qualified worker. The total is 1 year, so he or she can go to the cuenta ajena. Why is required this 1 year? Because within the immigration law, there are some restrictions if the person doesn't have 1 year of resident, no matter which type of resident, but this they require 1 year of resident. Okay, so after 1 year resident, this person can change to other type of work permissions, such as cuenta ajena. It is the requirement of the immigration law is known as Situación Nacional de Empleo, that is to ensure that no one in Spain can do that work, and for that reason you can apply directly for the job permit. In this situation, if the person has 1 year in total of resident, the student permit doesn't count as resident, he or she can go through the cuenta ajena. It's important to know that if this worker changes to cuenta ajena, it will be necessary to have a job offer at that time and submit the application before the 30 days. Another option is that the person has another job offer that fits under the highly qualified because the salary, job position, and so on are considered qualified, and then we can also apply for a new highly qualified permit, but associate or link it to the second company. In this sense, UGE, which is the administration that solves the highly qualified permit, is more flexible on accepting applications, new applications after the 30 days. Okay, so if you decided to go through the cuenta ajena, you have to be very strict on the 30 days. But if you go through the highly qualified, it's kind of more flexible. And if you wait a little bit more, the administration will be accepting the new work permit application. Okay. But it can happen that the worker leaves the company voluntarily. You are not fired, but you want to leave the company. The same 30 days requirement applies, okay? And also the same I explained before. Imagine that you have 1 year of residence in Spain and you have a job offer. You can change through the cuenta ajena within the 30 days, but it can happen that, for example, you don't have this job offer, you have left the company because you don't want to be more there and you don't want to wait until being fired or whatever, and you just leave, but you don't have any work. But your couple or wife or husband is working at that moment. So it's also possible to go through the reagrupación familiar. What's this? That the relative applies for cuenta ajena because the relative is working at that moment, and so we have already 1 year of residence. We can change to cuenta ajena, and who was under the highly qualified worker now changed as a relative, which in the general immigration law is known as the reagrupación familiar. Both will be allowed to work and both will not be linked to the hiring company. So it will have more flexible for the couple to change the company. And also if one of them, who is the worker and giving the right, leave or is fired, this is something that will not have impact to relative. The only bad part of this is that the process to change to cuenta ajena and reagrupación familiar is a bit longer. Okay, it's not immediately. It's not possible to obtain the permit in 1 month, but given that the person was working before, it will be possible to be working despite the permit is not solved yet. Okay. Following the example, if the worker is leaving voluntarily, the same would happen if there is a new tech company, for example, that is offering the same as the worker was doing before, and so we can go through the qualified. Also, the same. It's 30 days, but the administration is kind of flexible here. So this is about the highly qualified, okay? That probably is the most common permit associated in tech companies. Now we'll talk about the work internship permit or contrato laboral en prácticas. This is more common for junior profiles, people who has just recent graduate and entering to the labor market. Is a type of work permit for these profiles. It's only for 1 year. So after that, it's necessary to change the permit through the highly qualified or through the cuenta ajena. Imagine that the worker is holding a work internship permit and the worker has been fired. Probably this person will not have the right of unemployment help. Why? Because he or she hasn't been working before, he or she hasn't more than 1 year working in Spain, because probably this is the first contract that the person has. And so we have to focus on other options of resident within the 30 days period of time that applies to all type of work permits within the entrepreneur immigration law. So what will happen? That the worker has been fired in the months 6 of total of 1 year, while the worker still have 6 months remaining, not only in the work contract, but also in the work permit. So if he or she finds another company, we have different options to do another work internship contract, but only for the rest of 6 months remaining there, but we have to apply for a new work permit, or we just change directly to the highly qualified work permit if we suit with the requirements, or we go through the cuenta ajena if the worker has a period of 1 year of residence in Spain. That could happen because before the work permit, before the internship work permit, this person was holding a job search permit. So only 3 different options, and depending on the case, we have to see what's more benefit for the worker and also, of course, for the company. If the worker leaves voluntarily, here the same applies. Depending on the case, depending on how many months this worker has been in the previous company, we will have or not a possibility to do a new work internship permit, but only for the remaining months of total of 1 year. So we have talked about the highly qualified, the work internship permit. Both permits are linked to the company, and so if there is any change within the relationship with the company, the worker has to change the work permit and look for another resident option. The third permit that we'll talk about is the work employment permit or cuenta ajena permit. This permit is not linked to the company, and so if this person is fired, nothing will happen, because the only requirement for renewing the permit is to demonstrate that you have been working for at least 3 months per year. So it's something very easy to accomplish. And so if we are assisting the worker, we always recommend to change to the work employment permit if you are in Spain for more than 1 year and you are still working with the company. Why? Because at the end, if it's something that you are expecting a firing or that you are looking for a new job, it will be always easy to change to a new company. And of course, it won't have impact to your relative because they depend on you under the highly qualified and under the work internship permit. Of course, the highly qualified has other benefits, such as, for example, that is faster. You can have a resolution in one week or 2. So depending on the case, we have to assist you accordingly to your interest, or if it's preferable to focus on the processing time, or depending on the case. Okay, but just know that these are the main situations that could happen if a foreign worker is dismissed. So the last part of this presentation is first to see how normally companies are hiring foreign talent and the situations that could happen, and following the options that you have to look for another work permit that won't have impact on you if there are layoffs in the company, or if you are want to leave the company. So the habitual option, if you are a Spanish company hiring foreign talent, is that you go directly through the highly qualified work permit because you can bring this candidate directly to Spain without any other requirements that accomplishing the requirements of salary and job position that has to be qualified in terms of functions within the company. This permit will be issued for initially for 3 years. Those who had the permit before January this year will have 2 years because the law has recently changed. And so imagine that we are hiring now a candidate. So now this person will initially have 3 years. This person can renew the permit after 2 years if he continue working in the company, and he will be allowed to go through the long-term resident when he accomplishes 5 years of residence in Spain, or if in the middle, when he had 2 years in Spain as a resident and he is a Latin American, he can apply for the citizenship. But he can apply, but it won't be solved until 1 year or 1.5 years later. But it's possible also to change to the cuenta ajena, to the work employment permit, after 1 year of highly qualified work permit. Okay, so at the end, this person will be only focusing on the long-term or citizenship, but with the cuenta ajena, he won't be linked to the company, and so he don't have to go faster of applying for the citizenship and so on, because he will have enough time to do everything, because he have more comfortable on if something happens, he will maintain the resident permit. The second option is that the company is hiring a foreign student in Spain. In that situation, normally we don't go through the highly qualified, we habitually go through the cuenta ajena. Why? Because the law allows the individual to apply for cuenta ajena if he demonstrates that he has finished the course that he was doing in Spain. And so if we accredit that this person has the university degree or the master finished, we can directly change the student permit through the cuenta ajena. If the student is allowed to work within the student permit, nothing will affect on being working the whole time. So we can't hire the student before submitting the cuenta ajena application. The only restriction is that the student is allowed to work only 30 hours per week, but after we submit the file for cuenta ajena, the student will be allowed to work until the cuenta ajena is solved. When the cuenta ajena is solved, we change the hours until full-time, 40 hours per week. After achieving the first year of cuenta ajena, the worker will be allowed to renew, and the same to the long-term or citizenship, depending the case. If we hired the student directly with the work internship permit, after 1 year, we have to change the permit. Why? Because as I said before, the work internship permit is only allowed for 1 year. And so after this year, we have to change to another resident option. As you remember, I said that every foreigner that has 1 year of residence in Spain can directly apply for any type of work permit, including the cuenta ajena. So here we have two options: to go through cuenta ajena or to go through the highly qualified worker. If the individual have a work permit and applying for a new one, for example, the cuenta ajena highly qualified, he will be allowed to be working despite that the file is in process. Okay, so don't worry. The only circumstance is that if there is a new company in the middle, okay, in that case, we understand that it's not possible to work because the previous permit wasn't allowing to work with the second company. And finally, we will talk about the blue card permit. This is a new permit that has been recently introduced in the entrepreneur law. It's very similar as the highly qualified, okay? It's also regulated at in the same article in the law. So we will focus just on the main characteristics in order to understand the difference with the highly qualified. So if we are a company intending to hire a foreign talent, what's better for us, the highly qualified or the blue card? So we have to explain the characteristics in order to say why it's more benefit for one person or for the other. There are some difference of professional profiles requirements. So the highly qualified requires at least a level of well, first you have here in the presentation an image of the levels of studies in Spain. There are two different ways to see the levels within the MECU and within the methods. Okay, the only difference is that one is from the European Union and one is from Spain. But at the end, we have everything in one image, so you can see it very easy. So for the blue card, we require at least that the person has a university degree, okay? That is level 6, okay? Or in Spain, level 2, sorry, methods. So this is for the blue card. But for the highly qualified, we can also show a degree or a course under one level, which is the level 5 or level 1 methods. Okay, this is formación profesional, técnico superior. So this is also possible to go through the highly qualified, but not for the blue card. So if the person is holding a university degree, we can go through two options, through the highly qualified or the blue card. If the person doesn't have a university degree or a course, it's also possible, as it is with highly qualified, to go through the work experience. In this case, the blue card requires 5 years of work experience, and as you might know, the highly qualified requires at least 3 years of work experience. So the requirements for the blue card are higher than for the highly qualified. But there is an exception with the IT sector, which you can also go with the job experience if the candidate has 3 years in the experience, okay, or 7 years in the job position. So there are two types of experience: in the market or in the same job experience, in the same job position. Sorry. So if the person has different experience in different companies within the sector, 3 years. If the person has been working as a, for example, I don't know, CEO, but different companies, then we go with the seven years. So there are two options of accrediting the job experience, okay? This is also granted for 3 years as the highly qualified. The salary is not yet confirmed. The government still needs to apply, still needs to publish new instructions according to the job salary. And the good part of the blue card is that if the person is fired or if the person would like to leave voluntarily, the law automatically allows the person to maintain the work permit for 3 months. Okay, so imagine that you are fired holding the blue card. You don't have 30 days now. You have 3 months to use the blue card permit. And if you find a new company, you just apply for the new permit, but during 3 months, you can be with this permit with no problem. So you don't have to apply for an extension, as it happens with the highly qualified. If the person is holding a blue card for at least for 2 years, these 3 months are now 6 months. So during 6 months, this person will be allowed to use the blue card, despite that he or she is not working, and to change to a new permit when he or she finds a new job offer. But probably we will decide whether to choose blue card or the highly qualified if we are companies that we will like to send the person, the candidate or the worker, to another European country in couple of 3 years, because we have another company in Germany, for example. So if the worker holds a blue card from another European state, it's very easy to change and convert the permit to another blue card in another European country. So, for example, now in our field, we are converting one permit of blue card from Germany with the Spanish law. It's just showing the previous card, and this will allow you to issue a new blue card, but associate with the new European country. Of course, it's necessary to apply for a work permit and to fill the forms and so on. But at the end, we don't have to accredit all the requirements if that person was also holding another blue card before. Okay, at least they require you 1 year of holding a blue card from another state in order to convert directly the permit. If this person was in another European country holding a blue card, but only for 4 months, we have to start the process as if this person wasn't holding any permit, so as other candidates that can be in the foreign country. So more or less, this is an idea of the blue card, and depending on, as I said, the case, if you are a company pretending to send the candidate to another European country in 2 years and 3 years, probably it's more benefit for you to go through the blue card because you will have less bureaucracy in the other country in terms of immigration. But for the rest, at the end, it's more or less the same. Of course, for the worker, it's more benefit this permit because at the end, it gives more time for him or her to look for a new company if there is a firing or if she or he wants to leave the company voluntarily, because as I said, you don't have 30 days, you have 3 months now. So it's more time to look for a new company or job offer. And well, this is all the information that we wanted to explain to you in order to have like an image of the impact of a firing for a foreigner worker in Spain, and also giving you the main information about every work permit associated with foreigner worker. And now it's time for questions. So I will first read your questions here, and let me see. You can also, you can also email us after the presentation if you want to, to ask any question, or you have a case that you want to expose to us, so we can analyze and determine what's the best way to proceed. You can also feel free to do that. As I said, we will also be sending the presentation, so don't worry about that. So the first question is, what happens if I am a relative of a highly qualified worker and he or she is fired? So if you are a relative of a highly qualified worker, as I said, you will have to change also the permit, because your permit is linked to the worker, but the worker is losing the permit because he or she is linked to the hiring company. So we will have to look for another resident option that could be under the highly qualified with the second company, or also through the cuenta ajena. If you are the relative and you are working in Spain, we can also analyze the option or alternative to apply for a permit individually and to include the worker as a relative. So both will be allowed to work in Spain, and you won't have any impact on the resident. The following question is, would like to hire a person that probably will be under the highly qualified and that he will come with the family. They have a daughter, minor age, and depend on the fathers. Yes, you can apply for an authorization as a relative, being daughter, okay? So there are two options. If the children are minor age, you just simply show that they are minor age with the passport, and so you don't have to show anything else. If this person is major age, so more than 18 years old, it is also possible to apply for a permit, but in this scenario, we have to show that they are dependent on the parents. How? First, that the children major age is studying, so to show the university certificate stating that the daughter is studying in Spain or in another country, because the dependence has to be proven from the period time before the application. That also the daughter is single. This is something that has to be proven through the certificate of civil status. And of course, in this case, as this daughter is major age, it's necessary to prove the non-criminal records. But it's also possible. The only circumstance is that if during the period of time of validity of the resident, the daughter is not longer dependent, so in the renewal we'll have troubles. Okay, so in the scenario that the daughter is no longer dependent on the worker, on the parents, it's better to change the permit so the daughter is not linked to the parents anymore, because in the renewal it will be necessary to prove that the dependence is maintained. If it's not maintained, it's not possible to renew the permit, and in that scenario it will create some problems. So these are all the questions. As I said, you can email us if you have other questions, or if you want to expose us a different scenario that we haven't taught here before. We will send the presentation, and thank you very much for attending. Well, there is a last question that is, if the foreigner has 1 year of residence in Spain, can he or she change to cuenta ajena permit? If there is not an employment offer, it is only to continue living in Spain. No, if the foreigner has 1 year of residence, but in the moment he or she doesn't have any job offer, he or she cannot go through the cuenta ajena, because one of the requirements for the cuenta ajena is to show that you have a job offer. But it can happen that your relative, your couple, is working in Spain, and so he or she is the person who is changing to cuenta ajena, and you are changing as a relative. This is something that can happen. Well, so with that, we will finish the presentation. Thank you very much, and good morning.